It was a kind dash that many dash expected to prove too much. It was the kind, again a little bit of collocations here. It was a kind moment that many must, grammatically incorrect, illogically also, right? It was a kind of time that many shall have, illogical, doesn't make any sense. It was a kind of, they here referring to many. So some people were expected to prove too much in some sort of a situation, right? So it was the kind of situation would be the right answer that many would have expected to prove too much. Everything else is still incorrect. It was a kind of, not in the right form, 5. It was the kind instance that many have expected, again is grammatically incorrect. The admiration some leaders earn is dash by their dash instinct for hitting the front lines in newspapers. So her query is, why not option C, engendered and unerring? Really? Answer given is option A. But how can admiration be developed? Development refers to some physical entity. Okay, first of all, I think you misunderstood the concept or the context, right? In the context, if you pay attention, the admiration some leaders earn is developed by their instinct, some instinct for hitting the front lines in newspapers. Now, the context is, please understand, admiration is not developed. The admiration is earned. Understand the context first. The admiration is earned. How is it earned? By these people developing what? So they are developing not the admiration, the whatever instinct. And given the context, our headlines being, for you to hit the front lines in newspapers, you need to be doing something amazing, right? Something that is worthy of news attention. So the right adjective that tells me or explains to me or describes to me saying, hey, what is worthy of frontline news? Not unerring, not feeble, not just aggressive or not provocative, or right? Something, and they are not specific to any particular news. They are saying general, in general, what can be worthy of hitting the front lines? The right adjective describing that is uncanny. Uncanny means our answer. Uncanny means something that is very, very difficult to explain, right? Something that causes astonishment, like it immediately catches your attention in the news. Something that is mysterious. That's the meaning of uncanny. So now I hope you understand the context. Yes, let's look at the other words, also the words that you guys are not able to figure out. So some of the words, feeble, I'm sure you know. Uncanny, we just figured out what the meaning is. Something that is feeble, why would it even catch somebody's attention, right? Unerring. Have you heard of that word? Anybody? To unerr. So unerring means something that is perfect, without error, yes, without fault, correct, right? Something that is perfect, like you can't find fault basically. Engendered again, it's giving rise to some sort of a feeling or situation, right? Not the right word in the context. Admiration some leaders earn is engendered by their unerring instinct. Doesn't make sense at all. We're not talking about the instinct being perfect. We're talking about something that is worthy of capturing the attention of when it is put in the news. Yeah, any other words that you needed to understand before we move forward? I'm assuming conceded is a typo error. Concede, I know, to agree or admit. I don't know if there's a word called conceded. Can somebody tell me if that is the case? Provocative, again, very luring, not the right word in the context. Like I said, provocative, aggressive, feeble are very specific. Anyway, feeble is not something that will draw attention or newsworthy. So you can quickly eliminate option B. So I think the problem here, Monica, is you misunderstood the context. The admiration is not what is developed. Admiration is earned. What is developed is their uncanny instinct of hitting the front lines in the newspapers. Yeah? And that's why option A is the answer. Okay, so the next question is, hundreds of people were killed dash the earthquake. Hundreds of people were killed dash the volcano. Where to use by and in? Okay, interesting question. Okay, for this, the best way to understand what preposition will go, I think it's easier if we come up with some example sentences, right? So I want you to think, I'm also going to write some example sentences. I want you to think of example sentences where you will actually use the right preposition. Okay, so let's quickly look at it. So I can say the house collapsed in an earthquake. Right? I want you to understand the difference between in and by itself to start with. I'm going to write down so I can say the city was alarmed, just for you to understand the difference between the prepositions, by the earthquake. Okay? Many lost their homes in the earthquake. Okay? Much damage has been done by earthquakes. Now in just these 4 sentences, if you notice by and in, right, the meaning that these expressions, these prepositions are bringing in the context. The house collapsed in an earthquake. So it's talking about, here it is referring to a place, a location. The earthquake happened there and that's where the house collapsed. Here it's talking about the reason why the city was alarmed. So by here is expressing some sort of a cause or reason. Okay, the agency through which the city was alarmed. Likewise, many lost their homes in the earthquake. There again it's talking about the location where the earthquake took place, and as a result of that many lost their homes. Much damage has been done, again the reason or the cause for the damage. Now in the context, hundreds of people were killed. Where did this happen? In the earthquake, right? Hundreds of people were killed. The killing of hundreds of people happened at a specific area in a location. Hundreds of people killed, right? Now technically, for the second context, right, in doesn't sound logical, but even if I have to use by, I will slightly modify the context, right, just to be technically correct. So I will say hundreds of people were killed, the second context, hundreds of people were killed for the volcano, by the volcanic eruption. By the volcanic eruption, right? Technically, it's the eruptions that come out of the volcano that has caused either the killing or the damage. So I would ideally do that, right? So that's where I think hundreds of people were killed. Again, even if I have to use another preposition, I'd say due to the volcanic eruption. Are you following? The volcano itself doesn't kill the people. The eruptions from the volcano causes death. Are you following? So that's where I will make the change. Yeah? Otherwise, ideally it can be by, yes, in the second context, but I'll just change that to volcanic eruption. That's about it.